And I kept thinking like, you know, I relate to this person's goals. I relate to this person's goals. I relate to this person's goals, even though they were all different. And I still haven't found that like, that one thing that it's like, that one passion. And I used to be really envious of people that had that like one dream. Like, I want to be this. I really want to be a comedian. I want to be a comedian. And I was jealous because I was like, it's so nice that you have that. But I realized that I'm happy to just entertain people. What's up, guys? I'm Veronica from the Chemical X podcast, and this is Lowkey MTL.
Lowkey MTL.
So you are one of the hosts of the Chemical X podcast.
I am.
You are. Yeah, and but that's not the only thing you do though. Like, so how did you find your whole like creative side, and like how did you start getting into that?
I would say everything trickled over time, and then I kind of looked back and like saw the path of how it came to be. I've always been like a pretty creative person, like even growing up, you know, when I was in high school, I loved to like take a film camera and like try out like taking film pictures. It was very hipster at the time, but you know, now I'm like, oh, I learned how to take pictures with a film camera. And I pretty much just taught myself how to do everything. So there was no like go to school and learn graphic design, go to school and learn video editing. It was just kind of like, I always thought that creative things were cool. And I always just liked to make cool things. And I always had this vision, and I always felt like I lacked the ability to kind of find a way to make my vision come to life. So over time, I would just teach myself how to do things. So whether it was like taking pictures, like I want to take a cool picture, like I taught myself how to take that picture. And then it's like, I would want to turn that into a flyer. And then I taught myself how to do graphic design. And I just kind of like over time really built all these skills up to like where I am now. And honestly, I just started by just liking to create things. So
Did you ever think of like applying that to school though, like kind of like going towards a career path in that?
yes.
You figured it out so early.
I mean, I always knew, like, I remember, like, my first dream job was, like, to be a pop star because I had, like, a blue wig, and I was like, oh. And then I realized I couldn't sing, so I was like, okay, scratch that. And then I was like, I want to be, like, a makeup artist, and then I wanted to be an interior designer. And then all these things just kind of led to me eventually choosing to go into fashion marketing because I felt like it was so open and creative, and you kind of learned advertisement, you learned trends, there's colors involved. I like color. So I started studying in that. And that's where I went, like, that's what I studied for college. But even though I liked it, it wasn't creative enough for me. You know, like I didn't feel like I was making something.
Did you feel like you learned anything from it though? Like
I did.
Okay.
I did feel like I learned something, but very like between the lines. You know what I mean? Like I can't say that I learned, oh my God, I wouldn't be here without it. But it definitely got me to learn different things. Like I had an advertisement class, and that's how I realized, oh my God, I love advertisement. I love creating ads. I love, you know, that whole communications section of the industry. And then there's also things that I realized I did not like, you know, but I think it was just helping me refine my idea of what I liked.
Yeah, true.
So I was able to get out and be like, okay, I definitely don't want to work in like fabrics. I definitely don't want to work in any of like the textile and very like production industry. And I wanted to do something more like ad based, more content creation based. But after that, I've never been like a school person. I would consider myself more street smart rather than like educationally intelligent.
Yeah, same.
And like there's nothing wrong with either of them. But I didn't feel like the need to like continue my studies in university, even though I did think about it often. Like I would be like, oh, you know, that I would have this time where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go back to school of communications, or maybe I'll go back and like learn this. And for me, really with school, the only reason that I ever wanted to go back is just because I felt like it would give me some sort of credibility. And I felt like in the creative industry, you're always kind of struggling to prove you're credible in a sense. Like when you tell somebody like I'm creative, they're like, okay, prove it, you know? So I felt like I always lacked that because I taught myself everything, like I said. So I felt like the only reason I ever wanted to go back to school was to almost get that certificate that says I'm creative and you should believe it.
Maybe that might just get you like interviews, but at the end of the day, they want to see a portfolio and then see what you could actually do. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it was also the credibility for myself. Like I was always very insecure to like call myself a graphic designer or call myself a photographer because I felt like
you can't be all of it.
Yeah, but I was just like, I was scared that people would be like, oh, well, you're not good enough, or you don't have a degree in graphic design, so you're not really a graphic designer. But over time, I kind of realized like that's not true, you know, and I didn't need that.
When did you kind of like figure out? Because I had the same thing when I was like dabbling into like graphic design and stuff. Like, when did you figure out that like your work is actually like people would pay for your work kind of thing? Like, when did you figure that out?
Honestly, like really, really recently. I worked a lot in creative agencies. So I started off in the creative industry working as a social media manager, as you know, everybody does. And then then I would like dabble in content creation. Then I would dabble in like making newsletters. And these were all happening like through internships or like my first job that I got as an art director. And it was something that I would be hired for, something that I felt confident being hired for. But then I would always kind of be like, okay, well, I could do that. I could try to do that for you. And when I was seeing they were happy, I was like, okay, well, I guess I am good enough for, you know, this skill to be something that I can offer and feel like it's professional enough. But outside of jobs, it was really hard for me to be a freelancer and feel confident to say like, pay me. And it took me a long, long time to actually realize my worth. I would honestly say it's only been like 2 years or even like one solid year that I've been like serious. No, maybe like 2 years.
Like price structure.
And like felt like confident to like charge people for my work. Even now I'm like super insecure. Like I totally undercharge everyone because I'm like so insecure and like I have so much imposter syndrome that I'm like, I'm not good enough. They're not going to be happy. But I think like what changed is honestly, I have to give it to like my friends and my boyfriend really changed my mind about like who I am. And like I know you're not supposed to look for validation in other people, but when
but like you could say that, but in reality, you're always coexisting with other humans. So like, it's natural.
And like you kind of need that validation, you know? And when I would see that my friends would like always offer me, like it'd be like, oh, I have somebody looking for a photographer, like I gave your name, and I'd be like, I'd be like, oh no, like I'm not good enough, like. And so often, even now, I'll pass on a job to one of my other friends. Like, I do it all the time. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Because I feel like I'm not good enough. And I'm like, oh, I know somebody better. Like, don't hire me for this. I know somebody that's more specialized.
You don't want to do something bad and then it's attached to your name, you know? But like at the same time, like you're not that bad probably. It's just all in your head.
It's absolutely all in my head because when it comes to the final product, I'm so proud of it. And I'm like, wow. I am really this good, but it's like the fear that I'm going to disappoint somebody or like not be good enough to like meet somebody's expectations. And I know when there's a dollar amount involved, I'm way more stressed to like have to give them what they want. So often I'm just like, to just save myself. Like I always say, like, I'd rather lose the $500 or whatever it is, but save myself the burden of feeling like so stressed for like the next 2 weeks over this project that I'll just give it to somebody else. And like, it's not worth the money for me. But I've been trying to like work on that.
It also messes with your creativity though, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you start getting stressed over stuff.
Yeah.
You can't, like sometimes there's like a deadline and you're just like, fuck it, like, I just gotta send this in.
Yeah.
You know? What about time management wise? Do you feel like you're good at that now? With like all these things going on? Because you don't only do, because you also have a podcast, you also have a job.
Yeah. Know? So I am working like 24/7. Like literally I'm watching a movie and I'm still working. But I like that. I like to be busy all the time. I feel like I'm productive. I have like this never ending pit of having to prove to myself that I'm like working and like working on being successful. So I don't mind, but like time management wise, I'm very stressed. Like I have anxiety. And like, then I just like make it worse for myself by like overbooking myself times 100. Yeah, I'm just like, I say yes to everything. And then I'm like, fuck, why did I do that? Like, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't have time to like So sometimes I need to like schedule time for me to like stress about something. I'm like, I need to stress about this project for me to feel like I'm ready for it, you know?
So what's your process? Is it like a calendar? Like
It's very hectic, my process. It's like just say yes to everything and then figure out a way to do it. If there's
like,
a will, there's a way.
Like how do you just remember shit, or do you just like
I
book
mean,
it in a calendar?
I put it in my, like when it's like shoots and stuff, like I book shoots, like I very often like will write like a to-do list. I think recently that's what I've been doing is like writing lists of everything I need to do.
For the day or like for the month?
For everything, right? Like I'll have like a day to-do list and then I'll have like a month one. I actually have this like desk that it's like my work desk and you can like write on it. And
it's like a whiteboard?
It's like a whiteboard.
Yeah.
So I'll just like write down everything I need to do and like constantly seeing it and being able to erase like what I've accomplished is actually so helpful because I'm
you
just
find
like
erasing is more helpful than like checking it off?
Yeah. I like because in my mind, or I guess the way my anxiety works is like I feel like a weight of all these things I have to do. And sometimes I'm more stressed about them because I feel like there's more to do than there actually is. So writing them down and being able to like erase the things is almost like removing that weight of what I felt like I had to do, just like gets removed. And then I see like there's only 2 things left on the list. And I'm like, wow, I feel so free. And then when the list is empty, it's just impossible.
So when I erase it off my whiteboard, I like sometimes forget how many things I wrote down. So sometimes like, yo, like I didn't do anything today. I would have erased like 4 things off, but in my head I'm like I only erased like 1 thing off, and like I still have like all this stuff to do, you know?
Yeah.
So like I guess I just think about it differently. So
yeah, you think about the opposite of me. I'm like the race to erase.
Yeah. No, I just check it off and I'm like, okay, I did that.
You feel more like accomplished.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when it's all done, then I erase it.
Oh wow, okay, I'm the opposite. I'm like, how sometimes I erase before it's like even done because I'm just like, okay, it's gonna be done in 2 minutes. Let me erase it now so that I feel like the weight off my shoulder.
At your desk.
I'm like so ready to erase when I have something to do. But definitely like I juggle a lot of things and it is pretty. It's like it takes a toll on me, but like I said, it makes me feel good to work.
So for the podcast episodes, are you banking up a bunch of episodes and releasing them, or are you literally just doing it every week and then editing and then putting it out?
So we film a week in advance. If there would be something that's coming up, like somebody's going away on a trip or something, then we'll maybe film 2 in that week, or we'll try to plan it in advance. But most of the time we just film like on the Sunday and then release it the next Monday. So there's still some time in between. And now my partner, Alessia, edits the videos. I take care of like all like the social media and like getting it up and optimizing it for YouTube and that stuff. So like our workload is pretty equal, which is really nice. And we always make sure to get it done in advance. So we're not like scrambling last minute. And for the most part, I feel like the podcast has actually been the easiest kind of, I wouldn't say the easiest, but the smoothest.
Yeah, because you have
going
a system now, right?
Yeah, so, we got our system down pat. You know, we film a certain day. We know how long it's going to take to edit. We have like our whole system. We have all our templates of thumbnails, of all that stuff. So we've really refined, you know, like how they say a well-oiled machine. That's the podcast right now. Like that is like my least stressful thing because it's very organized. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure. So does Alessia like was she also a creative, or does she just like learn how to edit videos for the podcast?
So yeah, I mean we both went to college together. We studied the same program. But like her, like she taught herself everything. She has like a little bit more of like a background in like sales and like client relations and stuff like that. So she's really good at that stuff. When we started editing, I kind of like taught her how to do everything, and that like helped us have like the same mind and the same way to do things.
Learn too, like when you do it with somebody.
When somebody teaches you, it's just like the best thing. And then
you guys both have like the same vision.
Exactly, the same vision and the same way to do things. Because like the hardest thing is like when you guys both have the same like end result, but do it 2 different ways, and it's like, oh, why are you doing it that way? You know?
For sure. So what about your day job? Like, what do you do on the daily?
So on the daily, I work as a video editor and I work in video marketing for a porn company. They're actually called Bellesa. Everybody should go check them out. So they are porn by women and it's ethically made. It really supports like adult performers to have like a safe environment to work and nothing is ever forced. It's super ethically done. So it's really fun, and it's very my personality to, be in that kind of industry. And so yeah, basically on the daily, I'm editing porn. I'm seeing naked people banging all day.
So do you feel like you're desensitized to it now?
Honestly, a lot of people ask me that. I don't want to say I'm desensitized. Like, it's just part of my job, and I still think it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a cool thing. Like, I like my job, so I wouldn't say I'm like, oh, like over it. Like, oh, I've seen naked people all day. But like, each scene is different, and what I love about we have like different segments of like content, and a lot of them are like raw and uncut. So like you kind of see it's very, very natural. Like there's not a lot of acting involved. So it's actually interesting, like as I'm doing it, to like just watch like the interactions between everyone. No, so it's almost like, obviously I'm sure there's always acting. Even now we're acting.
Porn acting is like so like extreme, like
so like over the top. But it's very, very like raw, uncut. Like they actually do like interviews where like they get like each side of like each person before they get in the room and they meet each other.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it's very natural, and it's actually really interesting. Like I like it's like interesting to watch. Yeah. Yeah. We have like a blind date segment.
Oh really?
Yeah, where they're like separated by like a wall, and like they talk to each other but they don't know who it is, and then they meet and then they fuck. But like it's just interesting,
That is really interesting. That's like very new wave.
Yeah, very new wave. They're very, very progressive, I would say, as a company.
How did you find them? How did they find you? I don't know.
Well, actually, a friend of mine like sent me a story of like they were hiring for like a YouTube specialist and video editor, and I was like, I guess that's me. And I just reached out to them on Instagram and
just DMs.
Yeah, I just like DM'd the person who I posted the story, and obviously my friend vouched for me and like, yeah, she's really good. She has her podcast, and I genuinely think I got hired because of my podcast. Like that's because they also have a podcast that they sponsor. So I just feel like it's funny how everything ties in, even when you don't feel like you're doing something to get a job. It's like somehow that little thing that you didn't think was relevant helps you more than you thought.
Like an interview is what, like maybe an hour? Like they have so much content of podcasts, you can like really get to know you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also feel like interviews for jobs is like, you have to put on this like front and like be this like fake person to a certain extent. So like it's always like are they really gonna look at all your podcasts? Like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think over time, one thing that I will say that like I've learned and I've like become better at doing, like I said, I'm yes man, I say yes to too much and then I'm stressed, is I started really forcing myself to be picky and forcing myself to like have standards when it comes to like a job or something like that, because I found myself very often like saying yes to opportunities that I could do. However, like I really wasn't happy doing them, and I didn't resonate with the company. I didn't resonate with like the image, or I didn't resonate with the job itself. Like one thing is like, I hate doing social media management, but somehow I would still take social media management gigs because I could do it.
You also know like you can
do it. But I hated it. So I think over time, like I really started being like, okay, I'm not going to take anything less than this. And that's how I found my last job. And in the interview, like I was so myself. I was like, one of my dreams has been to work for Playboy. Like I'm a very sex positive person. Like I was just like totally myself. I did it in my podcast set. And I was just like, this is me, because I want to work for somebody that is willing to take me for who I am. Like I'm tired of working for companies and pretending to be this like, 9-to-5 person that I'm not. So
that's how you become miserable too,
Yeah.
It's good that you have like all these like different avenues.
Yeah.
Like, you're not depending on one thing at all times.
Exactly. And like everything I am doing, I'm so happy to say that like finally everything I am doing, I'm happy doing. So every project that I take on, it's because I'm happy to do it. And, when you have so little time, like you have to be picky, because I'm not going to waste like my valuable free time to work on a project that I'm not going to be happy with, or that is just going to put me more stress than, happiness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, once you figure out the real value of time, like you start moving different ways, for sure.
Once you have no time, then you realize how valuable time is.
Yeah. When you're sort of like sleeping 2 hours, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna die.
No, can't fuck with my sleep though. That's one thing.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of people like really undervalue sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's what kind of gives you the energy and like creativity to do like all the stuff that you do,
1,000,000%. Like when you're not sleeping well, you're not thinking well, you're not like, and as a creative, like you can't just go and be monotone and like crunch numbers, you know, like you have to like, your mind needs to be working. Your mind needs to be like ready to take in new ideas and ready to come up with new ideas. So
yeah. And on the podcast point, like, have you ever, now that you have a podcast and you have to like talk about things and be like, not interesting, but like, you know, you have to have like clickbaity stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I mean, you know, it always helps. So, a little clickbait here and there.
You go, yeah. So do you ever find yourself like putting yourself in certain situations just for like the potential story of it?
1,000%. 1,000%. Like sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go out, but I feel like it would be a good story for the podcast. Like, especially when your podcast, like our podcast has kind of become really focused around our lives and our experiences. Even though we do like a lot of topics that are like generalized, but you know, a lot of people come to hear about our experience. And when you're stuck in a lockdown and there's not much going on, you kind of have to take every opportunity you can to come up with a story and come up with some kind of thing. And the funniest part is that what ends up being like the most hilarious stories and like the most entertaining are like the most mundane things that just happen, like an interaction at the grocery store, like a fight with my boyfriend. You know, it's like all these things end up being like the best stories. But I definitely do put myself in situations where I feel like it'll bring me content because, you know, people listen to me and Alessia because they want to bring an added value to their life. They want to laugh. And I can't, if I just stay home every day and don't do anything, then I'm going to have nothing to bring to the table. So
like you definitely obviously draw a line though, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm going to sell my soul to the devil so I can talk about it on the podcast. But it's not that I'll go out of my way, but I'm definitely more inclined to say yes to something. Like it's a push, you know, it's like, okay, I should do this.
You probably talked about it on your podcast. I don't know, but like, I don't know, tell me like about a crazy situation you've been in and like you just have to get out of there somehow.
Honestly, all my craziest situations have happened prior to podcasting. So like I had a very well-lived life so far. In general,
ready to die? Are you ready to, like,
I'm not ready to die. But like whoever takes care of that, if you're listening, don't fucking kill me. But no, not in that sense. I just like I've always been really a person to like live life fully. And that's why I've had so many stories. And I think now, which is why, like you said, like, do you do things for content? Okay. I'm more like, yes, I do. Just because there's nothing going on where I feel like whenever there is something, I have to take that opportunity. Right. But as a person, I've always been like that. Like I've always been taking risks. I've always been putting myself in like crazy situations or trying to do these crazy things and just trying to live my life and trying to follow my dreams. And, you know, it's like the endless pursuit of doing that. So my craziest stories definitely have happened when we were still allowed to be crazy. Now it's like you can't even take a bottle shot because people are like, oh yeah, COVID.
Yeah, I wonder like how long it's gonna take for all that weird stuff to go away.
I know. I mean, it depends where, you know. I traveled to South Carolina for like an event. I was like a ring girl for an event. I guess that counts as like cool things I did. And
how did you? That's so random though. Like, how does that?
Yeah, so random.
Yeah, how does that even happen?
The company that was taking care of it is Montreal based, and they reached out to us on Instagram and asked us to like be one of like the ring girls for the show.
They reached out to you guys.
Yeah, they reached out to us. Yeah, so South Carolina, there was like you didn't have to wear a mask. You didn't like nobody was obviously they're like a very like I don't know, like South Carolina as a state is very like not. What is it? They're like right. I don't know what the side they're like right.
Yeah,
right
I don't
is.
know like much about the politics.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like different states in the states are all like completely like opposite to each other.
Yeah, and like South Carolina was very like not into the COVID thing. Like no mask. Like Texas, like like no mask, no nothing. So I was like, I was there and it was very weird. You're like, oh, what's it? Like I was walking in the mall with no mask. I was like, oh my god, I haven't done this in so long. Like,
and if you have a mask, they look at you weird. Right?
Yeah, they're like. And you're like, okay, I've been scared. Like, what the fuck?
Are you not healthy?
Yeah.
So, that was like a funny, like, was there anything crazy that happened there?
I mean, I just think the experience itself was really cool.
Did you travel anywhere else during COVID?
I didn't, which is a really big, like, I feel like shock is not the right word, but before COVID, I traveled a lot. I lived in Australia for like a year. I traveled all of Asia. And then, when I came back, I kind of started working in the club, in the nightlife. I got a new job and I was like, just like getting used to being back in the city and like ready to travel again. And then the whole world shut down and I was like, whoa,
But people still were able to travel during COVID though.
Yeah, I mean, if you were ready for death threats, if you were, there
And then you
was
have to
so
quarantine
many.
and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
to quarantine. I just like didn't have that ability to come back and quarantine for 2 weeks, especially before I used to work like in office and, I just didn't have that ability. And also like I didn't want to go somewhere. Like for me, I didn't find it worth it to pay money to go somewhere where I'm going to have a curfew and wear a mask and not be able to go to restaurants.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Because like certain places during COVID were like completely open. So
Yeah.
people that were there, like I remember like my friend was in Miami and he was like just chilling. Like it wasn't just like COVID was no such thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not like a big Miami girl. I'm like, I like to go places and discover.
Yeah. Okay. You're like more
So
of a
I'm
backpacker.
like, yeah, I'm more of like I want to, like, I'm very, like, I see traveling as an investment, but I'm also like not ready to be like, I'm going to spend, $2K to go to New York. Like, it's like, I love New York, but like, I think Miami is a better example of like, I've been there, I've done that. Like, if I'm going to spend money and like go on a sick trip, I'd rather go to like, another country. I'd rather go to Europe.
Go to New York, like, for like collaboration reasons. Or
Yeah.
versus,
Honestly, I love New York. Like, it's one of my goals to end up living there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I like to find new places. I don't like going to the same place so many times. It's like, it feels like, like I said,
a trip.
Yeah, a waste of a trip, a waste of money. It's like, I've discovered what I had to discover here, like I want to go somewhere new. I want to find a new place. My like dream, like top of my list is Japan. Yeah. I'm like really, really like dying to go to Japan. I just think they have like a really interesting culture and like I love Japanese food. And I don't know, I just like love the country.
Do you already know places that you would go to in Japan?
I not places in general. I definitely want to go to Tokyo. I definitely want to go like up north to snowboard.
Do you snowboard?
Yeah, I snowboard.
Okay, cool.
So I definitely want to go like powder boarding in like the mountains. I want to go for cherry blossom season. I want to go for, basically I need to be there for a year. I don't know. I love the food and really what got my interest is when I was living in Australia, there's a huge Asian community because it's so close, right? So a lot of people from Asian countries will like immigrate to Australia and there's so much like, it's very like authentic.
You lived in Australia?
Yeah, for a year.
Okay.
A year and a half.
Were you like working there?
I had like a working holiday visa. So I traveled and I worked as well. I worked for like a media agency. I worked in a club. And I just made, like I went there alone and I just made a bunch of friends. And
that's the best.
Yeah, I like lived in a hostel for like 7 months. And it was just a really cool experience. And I met a lot of people and it like really changed, like shaped my life, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. Melbourne is actually like as a city is extremely similar to Montreal in like the level of openness and the level of like cultural awareness, I would say. Like it's a super culturally diverse city. So much food diversity, very artistic. Like it's like here, like there's a lot of street art. There's a lot of like museums. There's a lot of clubs, nightlife and like kind of like food. It was like very similar to Melbourne. So that's what I loved. It was like being in Montreal, but with like all different people. I was like, cool. And with beaches, like amazing. You know what I mean?
So it's surprising that you say like you love to live in New York because there's no beach in New York.
Yeah, but I'm not like a huge beach girl. Like it's cool if it's there. Like I know a lot of people are like sun or nothing, but I'm not totally like that. Like obviously, if I was born in a tropical climate, I would be ecstatic, but I'm not like chasing the beach. I'm a really big city girl. Like I like cities. I like the rush of people. I like the grind. I like, tall buildings.
Yeah, for sure. No, I went to New York once and like I got home at like 4 or 5 in the morning and like people were like out there like jogging and I'm like, yeah, the city goes hard. Yeah. Nobody ever sleeps.
Literally the city that never sleeps. But I feel like Montreal has a little bit of that feeling too.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
we have that like
If you go to Mount Royal in the morning, there's people
Yeah.
jogging.
Yeah, jogging. Yeah, I was gonna say the people at Mount Royal in the morning. I wouldn't.
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, like, there's people lingering in Mount Royal Park in the
Oh,
morning, in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Those people are not the same as the
I'm
joggers.
talking about like the lookout area.
Yeah, nice area.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite place in Montreal.
Yeah, okay. That's your favorite place in Montreal. I was gonna ask you. Okay, so is there any other spot in Montreal?
The first thing that comes to mind is actually a place that does not exist anymore. But maybe some people listening will know about it. There used to be like this big warehouse called TA, and everybody would go like do graffiti there, and it was like an abandoned warehouse. But the city was trying to I don't know if it was the city, but like the people were trying to push to get it, like to keep it as like a urban museum, because it was like filled with like street art. And I wouldn't say it's street art because it was, in a building, but basically graffiti and like all kinds of art. And it was just like so cool, but it was totally a safety hazard. Like there was like holes in the floor.
Oh shit. Okay,
and stuff. It was like really crazy.
What area was this in?
It was, I don't know if it's considered St. Henry. It was right behind like the old not the old, but the Home Depot on like Atwater.
Oh.
On like, Saint Jacques. So it's like near Atwater, Saint Jacques. And it was just like this abandoned building that everyone knew about. And it was really cool. And you had to like sneak in. It was like trespassing if you were caught there. But there was always so many people. Like it was one of those things where it's like you weren't allowed to go, but you kind of were at the same time. And I used to go when I was younger, when it was still like existing. And it was just such cool vibes. Like you would find the weirdest shit there. But also like the like contrast of like such a broken down building, but with so much cool art inside was really cool. And I really wish that they would have kept it as an urban museum.
Like, it's completely gone?
It's torn down now. But there's other places in Montreal that are kind of like that. But that one was just like the biggest one, I guess, the most infamous one.
Yeah. What kind of weird shit would you find in there? Like needles or like?
Probably, but I remember once we went up at night, would have not recommended for anyone to do. Yeah, there's no light. And I had found, I think I still have a picture of it on my phone. I had found like, on like, because everything was broken, right? Like all the windows are broken. And on like a cracked window seal, there was like this super creepy doll just sitting there on the windowsill. And I was like, no. Like, and it was pitch black when we had went. I was like, this is not for me.
How does that doll get there, you know? Like,
it's just like people doing stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the somebody like built a pink house on top of an abandoned
yeah, it's like a staple. Yeah, that's like right beside St. Ambroise, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Right where Riverside is.
Yeah.
Somebody built this like thing, and like I read a whole article on it.
Was it an artist?
They don't know who it is, and they're like, how did this person do it? Because you had to like to build that, like where it's built is like right on like the edge of the building, and it's like you had to climb an insanely tall ladder.
and it's like blocked up because we saw last time I was at St. Ambroise. Like I don't know if you've been to that. It's like a open terrace bar, like right by there.
Yeah, Riverside.
Yeah.
Oh no, St. Ambroise.
Yeah, St. Ambroise. Yeah. So I was at St. Ambroise, but it was getting darker, and then we saw like flashlights going up, so like people were still able to go up, but they couldn't get past like a certain point.
Yeah.
So like that guy's pink house was like way on top of that. So like he had to like I don't know how
James
Bond that shit.
But like not only get up there, but build a fucking house.
Yeah.
Like
while like nobody notices.
Yeah, like and paint it pink. Like what?
And like watch someone's gonna tear it down or something.
Yeah, the city's gonna be like, no.
Yeah.
Safety hazard.
Yeah, but they can't since it's so high up. That's why I'm like curious to see how long that site like lasts for, you know?
Yeah, I wonder.
Do you have a vision board? Because I know you have like a list of to-dos and stuff, and usually like it all encompasses a vision board.
Yes. So my vision board is actually my lock screen on my phone.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah. So I made a vision board at the beginning of 2021, and it's been, my lock screen since then. And I use it as kind of just like a visualization of what I want and my dreams. So I look at it often, but I've kind of like gotten like desensitized it now because you see it every day. But like it's a nice reminder of what I'm working towards.
Did you make it yourself like on Photoshop?
Yeah, like I photoshopped like a whole cute like mood board, like moody. And I can say that a majority of it has not come true yet. However, I'm not the type of person where I'm like so focused on the goal happening right now. Like I'm happy to just be working towards it.
Yeah, you have the patience.
Yeah, I have the patience in a sense, and I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. So I feel like slowly I'm gonna get to that point.
It also depends on how crazy the goal is, right?
Yeah.
Because like the more realistic it is, the more short term I feel. You know?
Very true. Like I feel like if you put something that's so easy to achieve, you kind of know that you're gonna get that easily. But when you start putting things that are like more long-term goals, you're less like time pressured to achieve them because you know like it's only a matter of time, you know?
Yeah.
But I like having it there because it reminds me of what I'm working towards, and it just reminds me like to keep whatever I'm doing in line with where I want to go. Because I feel like a lot of people will get lost along the way and will start like, okay, well, I'll do this because you know it's good for money right now, or I'll do this because like they're paying me more, but like I'm not super happy. And you know, I think it helps to remind me to keep making decisions based off of what I want. You know, like sometimes an opportunity will come up and I won't have time to do it, or you know, I'm like on the fence about it. It's like too much going on, but then I look at my mood board. I'm like, but you know, like this really relates to what I want, so maybe I should prioritize this and do it, and you know, maybe it'll happen.
Do you think like a digital one versus a physical one has a difference?
No, I think it's about you. I think it's about the way you look at it, and the way you work towards it. Yeah. It's just more like the visualization. It's especially somebody who's visual like me. It's like I need to see it. I need to see it. I need to be reminded of it.
Do you do visualization exercises and stuff, like where you just meditate and like?
No, I probably should, but I visualize like 24/7. Like I live my life very based on this like overly, even though I spoke for a million hours about how I'm like insecure and how I'm like too scared to charge people, I also have like the complete paradox personality as to where I'm like so confident in myself and like I know I'm gonna make it, like I know I'm gonna achieve everything I want. And when you almost make it like no option, like there's no option, like I will do it. I think having that mindset is like you worry less about how I'm gonna get there.
When did you have that mindset of like that tunnel vision and like you knew exactly like because like, there's that point in time where everybody's just confused and like, oh, what am I gonna do with my life, you know?
Yeah.
And then eventually you kind of get an idea and you like narrow focus. Like when did that happen for you? Do you remember like a specific time?
I think never. I think even now, that's one of the things that I struggled with, being somebody who does a lot of different things. I always felt like I had to do one. I had to pick one. You know, that saying of like jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. That would weigh on me a lot because I always would say I'm really good at a lot of things, but I'm not amazing at one thing in particular. And that would stress me out because I felt like I didn't have that one goal to work on. And I feel like it's always easier to have that. I want to be a professional photographer, or I want to be a famous actress. It's like, it's so much easier to work towards that clear path. But for me, it's like, I just loved doing everything. So I was like, how am I supposed to pick one? How am I supposed to find that path? How am I supposed to feel like I'm on the right path and that I've made the right decision? And then over time, I realized that for me, being good at many things and being a jack of all trades, if you want to say, is actually what made me an asset to a company, is what made me an asset professionally in my career. It's like, that's what I am. You know, you hire me and you're not only getting somebody who knows photography, you're getting somebody who has the background in art direction, who has the background in set styling, who has the vision. I've been in front of a camera, I've been behind the camera.
Yeah, so that's basically a creative director, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you want to become a creative director, I feel like that's what you have to be like multifaceted.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
And I think I used to pressure myself so much to like find one thing and really be good at it, that now when I just sit back and do everything, and like I don't feel insecure about it anymore. Like I actually feel like it's really good that I'm like that. And I feel like a lot of people can kind of relate to that in the sense where they feel like they like doing many things and they don't know how to pick. It's like you just got to find a way to encompass all of them. And that's what I've done, is I've harnessed all my abilities and made them work for me in one way. And when you say visualization, like how did you get out of that tunnel vision? It's like I haven't. Like there's this trend on TikTok. Not to bring TikTok into this, but there's this trend on TikTok that people would like post like whatever, this like saddie song, and it's like their whole like mood board of what they want it to be. And it's like, you know, somebody would they really want to be a Broadway actress. And it would be like all these pictures of like Broadway actresses. And as much as I wanted to take part in this trend, I was like, well, my mood board and my dreams, they don't look like that. It's like one picture is going to be me, is going to be like some burlesque dancer. And then the next one is going to be me behind a computer. And then I didn't have, like, I don't
have. You did that though. Like,
like
it's just deferred yours. Like, because that's what usually happens is a TikTok trend and then someone does it like completely opposite.
Yeah.
I
probably should have done it. But I felt like for me, I kept thinking like, I relate to this person's goals. I relate to this person's goals. I relate to this person's goals, even though they were all different. And I still haven't found that like that one thing that it's like that one passion. And I used to be really envious of people that had that like one dream. Like, I want to be this. I really want to be a comedian. I want to be a comedian. And I was jealous because I was like, it's so nice that you have that. But I realized that I'm happy to just entertain people.
You also realize that like people that have that vision of like, oh, I want to be a comedian, like they are to a certain extent just telling themselves that. They're not really like believing it until it's like gets closer to that vision.
Yeah. But obviously it's easier to work towards a clear goal.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there's the argument of like nowadays you do have to be multifaceted.
Yes.
Like rappers or like musical artists, right? So like they can't just do music now. They have to have like an online personality. They have to have a TikTok.
You have to be good at posts.
Yeah, you have to be good at posts,
Yeah, there's a lot that goes involved.
I feel like that's where like the industry is changing now, where like people are just more like multi-versed,
Totally. Even like the professional industry, like if you look on any job on LinkedIn, it'll be like hiring social media manager, must have experience in photography, must have experience in graphic design.
Like Premiere Pro.
And you're like, what? Like for a social media manager? Like it's very like, hey, you're asking a lot, but it's kind of what we've come to now. People are embracing that kind of multifaceted style of work, which is beneficial for me. But, when you're trying to work towards something and you don't have that dream job or that clear thing, you kind of start to stress out, like, what am I going to be? But then you just got to realize what makes you happy. So for me, I don't have that clear, like, one day I want to be a blank. It's like, as long as I'm entertaining people, as long as I'm creative, then I'm happy. If I can have those two things in my job, whatever, wherever I end up being, which I don't feel like there's going to be ever like a one stagnant
it's always
thing.
Be like morphing.
It's always going to be a bunch of stuff. But as long as I'm doing those two things, then I know I'm going to be happy. So now I am doing those two things. I have my podcast and my YouTube channel where I'm entertaining people.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, I started my own personal YouTube channel.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Do you have like behind the scenes of Chemical X stuff on it?
No. Okay. There's not that many behind the scenes. You know what I mean? It's like pretty much the podcast is behind the scenes.
Yeah, but you know how the podcast looks a certain way?
Yeah.
So like I'm saying like a different angle.
Yeah.
Like maybe like the behind the camera guy or something, or like your setup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many ways I could do with it. But so just having my YouTube and like my TikTok and, I get to entertain people, which is what I love to do. I love to make people laugh. I love to entertain people. And then I get to also be creative. And even though they're two different jobs, they kind of just make me happy in together, So whatever it is that I'm going to eventually do for real, which I feel like I'm already doing it for real. But
I get what you're saying. It's
like,
always
I
going to be changing.
That.
Yeah, but that's more exciting though. Like you're always going to have to learn new shit, and you're always going to be in like different like environments. Your environment's always going to be changing, which is cool.
And I always just take whatever, my boyfriend is an actor. And when I met him, he kind of opened my eyes to acting.
Okay,
and then I was like,
let
me try acting. And then I started doing little things and I realized I loved it because it goes back to entertaining people and my love of entertaining people. And then I have a close friend of mine who's a comedian, and he constantly convinces me to try and do stand-up comedy and go on stage and
Who's your friend?
Akeem. I don't know if you know Akeem. You guys should check out Akeem.
Yeah, I'm actually wanting to get some comedians on this too.
Well, I will.
Yeah, for sure.
Hook you up with him. But yeah, no, he's great. And he's just like, you're funny. You should be a stand-up comedian. Like, you should really try it. And I'm like, no. But just having all these people.
Yeah, I can see you as a stand-up comic for sure.
Like, I just like, it's
you already
just breaking into it.
You already talk about your experiences on your podcast in a certain way. And that's literally what comedy is.
Yeah,
it's just, like,
storytelling.
Storytelling in a funny way,
Exactly.
But you got to be willing to like take like shit from an audience.
I know, and I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just interesting to surround yourself with people that bring you new ways to
100%.
you know, like I said, I like to entertain, and whatever way that's gonna come, I'm down for it. So I tried acting now and I realized I loved it. So there's no, you know, I never grew up as somebody who was like, I want to be an actress. But now I'm like, cast me in a movie, I'm ecstatic. You know, like I'm so excited for that. I never thought that could be something I could do. But the more people you meet, the more opportunities come up to you and you feel like are possible.
Yeah, and you almost attract like that kind of people towards your circle.
Yeah.
It like happens automatically. But you're saying like as a stand-up, you wouldn't be able to take like shit from the audience, right? But you have like a decent amount of people watching your stuff. There must be like negative comments and like negative like lashbacks and stuff. Like how do you deal with that? Or do you deal with that?
I do deal with it. So actually, the podcast, we do get hate. Mostly on TikTok, honestly. We get a lot of hate on TikTok.
You have more viewers on TikTok?
Yeah. So we got a couple of videos that went viral, got like, you know, 1 million views and stuff. And that's when you start getting, you know, the more people that see, the more opinions you have.
Yeah, because they feel like you're not going to read their comments.
Exactly. And you just start getting to an audience that's not yours. And I think that's really important to remember, is that the people that are hating on you are not the people you're making content for. And especially on my personal TikTok, I actually get a lot of people hating on me. And I'm going to be honest, like dealing with it, like I have no advice for how to deal with it, because I do take it badly. I don't take it badly.
Hating on? Like, are you just hating on like something you're talking about?
Well, people will often like attack me like for my looks, and like will like, you know, say a lot of mean things about how I look. Right? Yeah, like honestly, recently, like people have been like on all my TikToks, like telling me that like I need a nose job and like what's wrong with your nose, and like picking on like physically. And
I feel like that's just personal insecurity.
Yeah. But at the same time, like
that literally makes no sense.
Yeah, people will like just be so mean because they don't like what I'm saying, because I'm very confident, and that's how I see it. I see it as when people are confident, people don't like that.
They want to see like you being affected by something.
Yeah, they want to see you insecure. So people see, especially on TikTok, you know, they see a confident girl saying shit and they're like, oh, let's put her confidence down. But I have to admit, like being confident as I am, it's still hurtful for people to like say mean things to you, because I'm the type of person where I'm really, really afraid to disappoint people. I really want people, like I'm charismatic, so I want people to like me, you know, and it's not always a good thing. Like I like people that have that personality to like not give a fuck. They're just going to be themselves no matter if people like it or not. But I'm very like, I want people to like me. I want to entertain people. I want people to enjoy what I'm posting. I don't want them to hate on me. So when people hate on me or like start insulting me, like I become really like, oh my God, like this is not what I want. Like I just want to be like fun and happy and like good vibes.
You're trying to fix something that you can't really fix.
Yeah.
And have no control.
And that's what sucks, is like it gets me down, because I'm like, oh, like I just want everybody to like me, but not everybody could like you. Not everybody could find you pretty. And not everybody can understand that though, because it's different. Like sometimes I'll tell people and I'm like, oh, like, you know, I woke up this morning and I have 100 comments telling me I'm ugly. And people will be like, oh, but don't listen. I'm like, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah,
you don't have 100 people.
Yeah, even if it's like 5 negative comments and like 1 million good comments, you're only going to focus on the negative comments.
For sure. And you know what? Like I've realized that it's normal, and I've tried my best to not look at it. And what matters is just like working through that. But
like you have the right mindset. You're thinking about it more analytically. And,
yeah.
Like, it's just people like having a bad day or something.
Yeah.
Like, yo, fuck this person.
But it's like, it still lingers in the back of your mind. And like, I can't imagine people that have like huge platforms and how they deal with it. And it's actually opened my mind to that, because you think everybody's bulletproof, especially you think like, oh, this person is so loved, the hate must not even bother them. But, you know, just me, I get it on a small scale, but it just feels like, holy shit, like all these people are calling me so fucking ugly. Like, am I ugly? Like you start looking at me, you're like, do I need to know
It's
stuff?
like a mood board. You're like subconsciously just getting into your head.
It gets into your head, and it really like changed. Like for a little bit, like I felt like I was getting more insecure, and I was watching what I was saying more, because I was scared that people weren't going to agree with me. And then, you know, like it's a battle.
It's like you fuck up your creativity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
when you listen too much to other people.
Yeah, but then where do you draw the line between like, because you have to read the comments to see how good the show is, and like you always have to like.
I mean, I think
they should create software that like, actually no, that was fucking up. I was saying they should create software that automatically detects like
mean comments,
like negative comments.
Yeah,
but like you all kind of need to see that too, though.
Well, you can actually filter comments based off keywords, even on TikTok. Oh, really? Yeah, so like you could like filter the word ugly or like filter the word whatever. But now like serious trolls will like misspell things so that that comment will slide through, baby. If they're calling you ugly, they're gonna write it with an O, but it's gonna slide through and you're gonna get the insult.
They try so hard.
Yeah.
So they want, at the end of the day, they probably just want a reaction, right?
For sure. And I think for me, if we want to say if I've dealt with it in any way, my way to make myself feel better is like closing my phone, going outside, being in real life, seeing, and I know it's gonna sound so shallow, but like going outside and like looking good and like somebody complimenting me or like people staring at me, it's like, okay, I'm not this ugly troll that people are telling me I am.
Because you like understand reality.
Yeah. And I think when you're on the internet and you spend so much time creating content for the internet and like looking at what other people do, it's like you compare yourself so much to them and then people are
lose yourself.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, you're a 2 on 10. You're fucking ugly. Like you're so bad. You shouldn't have a podcast." And then you go out in public and then, you know, you get real people telling you like, "I love your podcast," or like, "You're beautiful." And you're like, "Wow, these are the people that matter." You know? The people that are really in real life.
Well, that's
the internet
real
is
life.
fake.
Yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that. That's like the real life, and then the internet world. There's like there's like trolls everywhere.
And it's so hard to differentiate. You know, it's really, really easy to get stuck on what people are saying about you online. And I completely understand anybody that gets affected by what's said because, like I'm saying, it affects me. But I think it's just having that ability to like understand which opinions matter. Whenever we get a hater, I'm just like, we're creating content for the people that love us. And that's what matters.
And more haters is kind of a good thing.
Yeah. And honestly, I realize that if you're saying anything worth saying, there's probably going to be people that don't agree with you.
100%.
If everything we spoke about was 100% like politically, not even to say politically correct, but so in the middle, like so like not picking a side, then you're not interesting. Nobody wants you to hear you say, maybe I like ice cream, maybe I don't. Maybe I agree with this, maybe I don't. Like nobody wants to hear that. People want you to pick a side and they want to be able to agree or disagree with you.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. See, you agree with me.
No, I disagree. Dope. Well, I had a really good time getting to know you more because I find like I got another side of the podcast and like you do see a lot of you on the podcast, but like I didn't know much about what you actually did on the day to day.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see like what you come up with and where your career trajectory goes for sure.
Thank you so much, and I think this is a great setup. I think you're bringing a really unique twist to content creation. So congrats on that. And thank you again for inviting me. It was really awesome.
Appreciate it, yeah.